Chapter 3. Others walked in the winter gardens now. Mid-morning and families were calling out to each other, strolling among the flowers and green plants. A boy ran past Summer and Ray, holding a red packet of crisps, the arms of his jacket tied round his waist. Her son would be the same age now as this boy, no longer curved like a baby, no longer learning how to talk. A schoolboy. Mahasan had written to her and said, "Schools here are not what they used to be. You must come and take him back. It would be better for him." Her aunt's letter arrived when the city was covered in fog. Even the postman still made his rounds unperturbed in the dark. A year later, and Summer was still paralyzed, unresponsive to her son. Froth, ugly froth. She could not forget what her aunt had said to her that night when they quarreled about Ahmed Ali Yassin, an old family friend. 9 months have not yet passed. You want to get married again? And to whom? A semi-illiterate with 2 wives and children your age? I'll never give permission for something like this. From what sort of clay have you been made of? Explain to me. Explain what you think you're going to do. Throughout her childhood, Ahmed had come to visit from the south, a roll of dust behind his Toyota van, crates of mangoes, straps of sugar cane. He laughed happiness. Summer always remembered him as laughing, except the time he cried for Tariq, his stomach shaking underneath his white jalabiya, the same way it did when he laughed. Doctor. He called Tariq Doctor even when Tariq was 16 and waiting for his exam results. Tariq. Ray had asked about Tariq. There was Ethiopian blood in his family, in the copper hint to his skin, the shape of his nose. Studying for exams, so many exams to become a doctor. Tariq doodling music on his notes. They came to Aberdeen for more exams. Part 1, Part 2. Exams that never ended. Culture shocked, they were alone together for the first time. No Mahasan, no Hanan, no one in this new city but them. They had dreamed of this, talked of this, yet like the elderly who remember the distant past more clearly than the events of the previous day, Summer lived with a young Tariq inside her head. When he was 14, she said to Ray, Tariq broke his leg. He fell off a ladder while he was trying to hang up a poster in his room. The ladder fell too. It made a terrible bang which woke Mahasan from her afternoon nap. She came rushing into the room and beat him with her slipper for being careless and for waking her up. I was laughing at him. I couldn't help it. I covered my mouth knowing it was wrong to laugh when grown-ups were angry, but I couldn't stop myself. He looked so funny tangled up with the ladder, fending off Mahasan's slipper. It was a good thing she did not see me laughing, or else she would have turned on me too. In the winter gardens, Summer started to laugh. I always laugh, she said. When people fall down, I can't help myself. And Ray laughed and said, not a very refined sense of humor. She said, no, not very, and went on. His father had to take him to Germany for an operation. The doctors had to put metal pins in his scalp. The day they came back, the house was full of people and all the lights were on. From Germany, they brought with them boxes and boxes of lovely chocolates. Mahasan saved them for the important guests and everyone else got Macintosh toffees, a tin that was past its sell-by date. They sold them like that, imported at the duty-free shop. The chocolates ashy gray, the toffees stuck to their wrapping. Tariq came back different, like he was suddenly older, even though he had been away only for a month. His leg was in plaster and he had crutches which Hanan and I took turns to hop with around the house. I wrote my name in Arabic and in English on the white plaster. It had been easy to talk when they were young. Things changed when they outgrew sparklers and bikes. Or even, she sometimes thought, things changed from the time he broke his leg. If Hanan was with them, they could talk, the three of them, about films they had seen or who Tariq had met in the petrol queue. But if Hanan left them alone to make tang or answer the telephone, there would be an awkward silence between them. Silly talk while they heard her stir the orange powder in the glasses, bang the ice tray in the kitchen sink. How are you? I'm fine, how are you? When his sister came back, they would look guilty as if they had done something wrong. Shyness pestered them for years. It was scratchy like wool. It made them want Hanan to be with them so they could talk, and wanted her away from them so they could be alone. Tariq sent her notes at school with his best friend's sister, overriding Hanan, although she was in the same class. The treachery dazzled more than the words he wrote. Flimsy papers that weighed in her hand like rocks. She tore them and scattered the tiny pieces in different places, afraid that someone would find them. She liked to talk to him on the phone. It was safe on the phone. On the phone, they swapped recurrent nightmares and happy dreams. He said, I want to tell you something, but I'm too shy. She imagined that what she wanted from life was simple, nothing grand, just to continue and live in the same place. Be another Mahasin when she grew up, have babies, get fat, sit with one leg crossed over the other and complain to lifelong friends about the horrific rise in prices, the hours Tariq had to spend at the clinic. But continuity, it seemed, was in itself ambitious. Tariq was plucked from this world without warning, without being ill, like a little facial hair is pulled out by tweezers. You must tell me about this, she said to Ray, holding up her folder. Are all the rumors about you true? What rumors? You and the terrorist, or is it all top secret? He laughed and put his finger on the blue folder. You tell me first what you thought of it. It's sad, she said. Sad? There's something pathetic about the spelling mistakes, the stains on the paper, in spite of the bravado. There are truths, but they are detached, not tied to reality. They're all like that. You get a sense of people overwhelmed, she went on, overwhelmed by thinking that nothing should be what it is now. They are shooting themselves in the foot. There's no recourse in the Sharia for what they're doing, however much they try and justify themselves. When are you gonna meet them? He shook his head. I didn't get the job. They took someone else, someone with more palatable views, no doubt. I'm sorry about that. She wished she had not joked about it before. I'm sorry too. Winter in Egypt seemed to me like a good idea. He looked at the windows. Beyond the winter gardens, summer saw a world dim with inevitable rain, metallic blue, dull green, lawns empty of people, covered with dead leaves. But really, it would have been good for the department. We have to prove ourselves useful to industry or the government to keep the funding coming in. She looked at the slabs on the ground, hexagonals by lines of pebbles, tidy, rubbish-free. Was it Tariq who always shaped designs in the dust with his feet, or was it she? Shifted twigs, dented bottle tops, kicked around a pebble that stood out from among the rest because of its striking shape, its different color. And to avoid Tariq's eyes, she had pulled little oblong leaves from their stems, tied the stems in knot after knot, rolled the petals of jasmines between her fingers till they became pulp. I was thinking of you, Ray said. This is why I wanted you to translate this. They need a translator. I would be happy to recommend you. It would be a short contract, no more than a month. Then maybe from Cairo you could go home to Khartoum for a visit. How far is it from Cairo? 2.5 hours by plane. She looked at him warily. There was now a distance between them, a new coolness. You imagine that I can interview terrorists? Her voice sounded a little sarcastic, grudging. The place will be swarming with security. You needn't worry about that. Anyway, a lot of them would not have taken part in terrorist activities. And you're translating, not interviewing. Someone else will be asking the questions. I think you'll do fine. These anti terrorist programs, he said, I see them as part of a hype to cover up the real problems of unemployment and inefficient government. I've spoken to members of these extremist groups before, and you will see that if you speak to them, they have no realistic policies, no clear idea of how to implement what they vaguely call Islamic economics or an Islamic state. They protest movements, and they do have plenty to protest about. Israel's occupation of the West Bank, the mediocrity of the ruling party, which has no mass support and which are in the main client states to the West. These groups appeal to people's anger against class divisions, but do people really believe them to be a viable alternative? I don't think so. I'll get off my soapbox now, he said and laughed. His laugh turned into a cough. I'm sorry to go on about this. Consider it, though. I think it would be a good chance for you to go home. See your family. I'm afraid. But he did not understand. It's natural to be afraid of a new job. When she did not answer, he said, There are other rooms in these gardens. Do you want to see them? They walked away from the cacti through greenery among tropical plants with large leaves, pink flowers, miniature waterfalls and streams where little girls teased the swimming fish, and all around them the sound of the birds and running water, water rushing in the pipes that ran along the ceiling to keep the air humid. Or was it already pouring with rain outside? In the farthest corner, in a stagnant pond near the toilet and the fire exit, a comical mechanized frog rose and fell. It broke the surface of the scum and rose, jaws wide open, to spit out the water it existed in. Down again it sank, heaved, only to obey and rise again. The boy with the jacket around his waist was there, kneeling by the side of the pond. He had a friend with him, and they appeared to be greatly amused by the frog. The boy pulled a piece of gum out of his mouth, long and silvery. He made a loop of it and put the other end into his mouth. It dangled long, nearly touching the ground where he knelt. The actions that make mothers scold. Put that gum back in your mouth. Don't play with it. She had said to Mahassan, I want to get married again. I need a focus in my life. And her aunt's reply was, Your son is your focus. But she had left him behind, come here, and her focus became the hospital room, watching from the window people doing what she couldn't. 4 years convalescing. If she went home now, she would bring Amir back with her. If he would agree to come, she would not escape from him again. Glass corridors led on to other rooms where there were tree barks, plants for sale in flower pots, giant mushrooms shaped out of stone. Back in the desert room, their bench was empty. The light welcomed her. No electric frog, no foliage, just a coarse, sparse aridity that was familiar to her from long ago. The sound of running water was the rain against the glass. It was like the rain of her dream, her first dream of the present, the first time this gray landscape had found a place in her sleeping mind. 4 years and her soul had dived into the past. Nothing in the present could touch it. But if you go home, Ray said, you would find it hard to come back, and I would not have a translator anymore. She learnt then the meaning of his kindness, that he knew she was heavy with other loyalties, full to the brim with distant places, voices in a language that was not his own.